Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
I also wonder, with the compensation for Hopkins, they were kind of looking for a player, as well as a draft pick, and I just wonder if maybe
Chris Board.
That was good.
You don't trade the best special teams player in the league after you sign him.
I'm okay with signing the Chris Boards of the world. That's fine. It's okay. Paul's looking at me like, okay.
He's teeing it up.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ready.
Go ahead.
They cut him for a special teamer. But if you think those two guys are equal, I don't know. I can't help it.
Who tells you that?
Patriots. Banger. I'm big. I'm big in bang. I'm big in Bangor. Money. I'm talking about money. I always talk about money.
That was
the
cash
season
spending.
ending.
That's not cap.
Right.
It's two different things.
You can disagree. I know that you know more.
Somebody will be punting for the Patriots this year.
Thanks, Fred.
I can guarantee you that.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Fueled by Duncan.
We're on the air?
Good job, Fred.
Oh, I missed the open.
You all did.
Yeah. My mic's down. I'm just not prepared.
I was talking about my interactions with Mike Gesicki and Riley Reef.
I'm just not prepared. Anyway, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Thursday here at Gillette Stadium. It's Evan. It's Alex. Paul, myself, Matt in the booth. Deuce is at Holy Cross.
On assignment.
Holy Cross Pro Day for some reason that I can't explain because there's no one there that we're really looking at. But Mike is an alumni there, so I'm sure he wants to,
He's very excited
So
about
maybe
it.
at some point later in the show, we might get a live hit from him.
Live look-in?
Yeah. We might get a live look-in from Deuce at Holy Cross. But anyway, it's Thursday, and, what are we talking about today? It's kind of quiet. Things have quieted down since, Chris Board and Mike Gesicki. Nothing really.
There was a little news with Jalen Mills. I don't think we talked about that.
Oh, yeah,
too,
bringing him
right?
back. Yep. That's a big one.
Yeah.
So it looked like he was going to be gone, and looks like he
What do you think that was?
restructured his contract.
Hey, go check out what's out there, and then he came back and said, okay,
Nothing.
I'm back. Yeah.
Yeah. I asked, I tweet out all the moves, and one tweet, I'm running out of characters. So I said, let's start using emojis so I don't have to write out words and limit. Somebody said with Jalen Mills, I should use the boomerang emoji because, they sent him out and brought him back. But it sounds like they just ripped up the deal and signed a 1-year contract restructure, and it didn't actually end up going through the transaction wire that he was released in the first place. So that was, I thought, was interesting about it was that they never actually even got to the finish line of releasing him, and they brought him back, and then there was that report that he might play safety. He might be moving more to a safety role, which I thought was interesting. And
I saw he tweeted out saying, hey, everybody, I'm a safety.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
tweeted
You all know
that.
I play safety, right?
Yeah, and he tweeted that before, right after Devin's retirement.
Right.
So before
Yeah.
any of that.
Before he got released,
Exactly.
quote unquote.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting trickle down effect though, because my guess is if they play him at safety, he'll be covering tight ends quite a bit, and then you free up a guy like Kyle Duggar to maybe play more in the middle of the field like Devin McCourty used to, and it allows you to be a little bit more flexible in that sense. So I've always thought that Duggar is a better player when he's instinctively just chasing the ball around instead of having to cover somebody like a tight end. So
I would agree with that.
So maybe Jalen Mills.
Absolutely.
Not the best guy to cover receivers on the outside, but now you cover some slower guys at tight end instead of worrying about speedy guys on the outside, and maybe that makes him a better cover player as well. So I think it could be a good thing.
Another thing that happened since our last show was the official ceremony for Devin McCourty, and I thought that was really well done. Hats off to No Socks for pulling that all together. It was like we're producing the Oscars over there.
I mean, he even got a
Right.
shout out from Bill.
Yeah, the lighting and the stage
The
and everything.
video got some props from Bill even.
Yeah.
So
It's a nice video.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the extent of it,
Yeah.
but yeah.
No,
He smiled a lot watching it.
yeah, he did. I think,
It's a good video.
Yeah.
It was a good ceremony. It was nice.
Yeah.
I enjoyed being there.
Yeah, good stuff. All the shout outs from all his teammates, including the big dog, Tom Brady.
Tom looked like he went to like a professional photo shoot to do that.
Well,
too.
I was
He had
thinking
a
the same.
background.
Everybody
It was
else is
lit.
like in the
Julian
car.
Edelman's calling in from Bed Bath and
Yeah.
Beyond, and
That was the
Tom's
best
like
part.
doing his school pictures.
Yeah.
Everyone sucks but me.
Very nice ceremony.
Yeah. The Edelman thing. Do you guys think Edelman's talking funny? Like he's I don't mean like humorous. I mean,
bro.
Well, I kind of talk like his jaws over like to the right. I don't know. His face looks. I think like everybody fixated on Brady's face, which I admit continues to look ridiculous, gaunt and sunken cheeks, but I thought Edelman sounded funny, and then I don't know if you guys.
I wish I looked ridiculous like that.
But wouldn't you feel bad if you looked as ridiculously good as he used to look, and then you look the way he does now?
I don't know. For 45, I think he looks pretty good.
Okay.
I'll second that.
He's the one person on the planet that doesn't think he looks different.
He looks different, but that doesn't mean it doesn't look good.
Did you guys catch the
McCourty
about the
he
McCourty
went from like
video?
an 11 to like maybe. Yeah. Did I see what?
The McCourty video with and I don't even know who he was with, but he was talking about the aftermath of the Raiders game. And Edelman was there, and he was chirping him.
Oh, I was going to ask you guys about this. It was Chris Long's podcast.
It was Chris Long.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
It was just a funny little clip that they showed, and Edelman was really busting McCourty's balls. It was after obviously the disastrous lateral play.
Right.
But even that, I thought like he was talking really funny. Like I don't know if there's something going on with Edelman. His voice just seems weird to me.
I think he's just affecting.
Maybe that's what it is.
I think. Sometimes when people get in front of the camera, they don't talk like they normally do. Yeah, because they're a little bit not lacking confidence. Maybe I don't know.
He always strikes me as one of those types of guys that has like an on-camera persona that he's not exactly the same off-camera.
Right.
You're too old.
There's no question about that with him.
Yeah.
So that happened since Tuesday.
Did you guys catch did any of you listen to the podcast in question or just that clip, Paul?
I just saw that clip.
I saw a bunch of quotes
coming out.
Yeah. Just aggregated quotes.
I thought it was interesting what he had to say about Steve Belichick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That didn't Devin's going to learn that sometimes when you say things, they don't always get taken.
Unintended consequences.
They don't always get taken the way that you want them to be taken.
Yeah,
like with the Zappy and Mac thing, and now this with Steve is not exactly gone the way that I think he thought it was going to go.
Well, when you listen to the actual interview, both Chris and Devin are talking about how much they respect Steve and how much he's learned and but like then you read the tweets and the transcriptions that the beat writers are putting out.
Right.
And it's like, oh man, no one's going to listen to this audio and know that this was actually like a
bigger
really
bigger
conversation. All the nuance got stripped from it. But Devin also had some interesting comments about Juju coming in, Jacoby leaving. He's called last training camp the easiest training camp of his life, too.
They gave him some days off separately from the team last year, though. Last summer, I think he had 2 or 3 veteran days.
I think he did.
But I wonder,
I don't think that's what he was alluding to, though, when he mentioned.
Yeah.
But I wonder, like anyone who's been in the league for 13 years or whatever, on any team, if the training camps are getting easier, because that's just the way of the NFL now.
I think they are too, but Snarky Paul will chime in. If you were on defense and you had to play against that offense, it would have been pretty easy for you all training camp too.
There you go.
I heard Paul say that in my head when I was listening to it this morning.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Well, I actually picked up on that from McCourty.
Yeah,
that was one of the other interviews that he did with EEI that he mentioned. That's when it was sort of eye-opening to him because he knew he's been around a long time and he knows. How good things are or how bad they are, and he made that. I think I said this on Tuesday. He figured out right away, like we're not this good defensively that we're going to just completely dominate every day of training camp the way they did.
Another piece of news that came out yesterday, I think, Dante Scarnecchia being given the Award of Excellence.
Is that something new?
Yes.
I'm not aware. Okay.
So he's getting this from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I was
congrats to
it was awesome. But you say it's a new award?
Yeah,
Evan?
So they started it last year. It's for assistant coaches, trainers, medical staff, equipment staff, and PR as well. It has
not content.
Not content. No.
No, what the heck?
No, I was waiting for Paul's name to come up.
Fred,
but
if it's content, you got to do me a solid.
No, but yeah, it's support staff. People in the building that aren't necessarily recognized as much as the head coaches and the GMs and the players. So I thought it was really cool.
Who gives the award? Like, is there a committee?
There's a committee. It's not voted on by the same committee that votes on for the modern era finalists.
How would they know?
Right. So it's a committee made up of people that represent those people, guys, big time assistant coaches, trainers, things like that.
So you seem like you've done the research on this.
Yes.
I sort of, the way someone was talking about it yesterday, is there a situation where you sort of get nominated by your team?
That could be. That's not what the write-up about it on the Pro Football Hall of Fame website says, but I would believe that.
I was saying that I know where you're coming from, Paul. I don't think it needs to be, because they do. It's not the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but every year there's like a Trainer of the Year, and it comes from the Training Association,
right?
So maybe
I saw
that
like
association.
One of the teams tweeted about that today. And they said their representative was so and so, and I think it was a trainer. It was a name I wasn't familiar with, and that's
Whalen won that.
That's why I was thinking. Yeah. I wonder if this is a situation
possible.
where the 32 teams nominate guys, but not everybody gets recognized.
Yeah.
Not everybody, quote unquote, wins or is elected.
Yeah. So they'll do, when they put in the actual. I shouldn't say that. They put in the players into the Hall of Fame. They will do some sort of a part of the ceremony where Coach Scar will get named, or maybe he'll be there, and I don't know.
Well, he has, like, I think June 28th and 9th or something like that. There's a ceremony that they get elected the night, and then the next day there's like a luncheon or something.
And then they'll have there's some sort of plaque or something like that will, in the Hall of Fame, that will have his name on it as somebody that was recognized for this award.
For Dante.
Yeah. Which is really cool. I mean, I'll drive the bus of him actually going into the Hall of Fame as a contributor to football. I don't know. That's going to take a pretty big push from all of us.
So, Fred,
but
unlike when I was up with you all those 20-some-odd years, down in KSP, we really work and we really think. It's a think tank down there.
Is that right? Is that what happens down there?
It's a think tank. So we threw this out there yesterday with the, when we found this Dante news out. 30 most important people in Patriots organization history.
Oh,
Would you put Dante among, say, the 30 most?
30?
Sure.
20, I think it's a shorter
most?
list.
Me too.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when you start to think about it, though, there's a lot of important people.
Right.
Because you're including players, right?
Everybody.
I'm
including everybody. I would guess that you would have to. I mean, Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick. These are obvious ones,
even Billy Sullivan.
But I would guess you would have to include Billy Sullivan for
John
founding
Hanna,
the Patriots.
People that put us on the map.
I'd be no on Billy Sullivan, but I can understand.
Yeah.
Like, the way I look at it, someone else would have done it.
That's true.
Right.
But he did it.
He did it.
Yeah.
He also had to mess up a lot of stuff for it to play out the way it did.
He took it and broke a major rule of engagement.
The contributor portion, though, of the Hall of Fame is not for players and coaches, right? Head coaches. It's for people like Dante or Ernie Adams as well that had the real big influence on the game as contributors.
But Fred's right. If you think about it, like in the whole 50 whatever years, like Bucko Kilroy,
right,
a Dick Steinberg kind of guy. They did build some really Chuck Fairbanks. They built some really good teams that didn't win championships.
Yep.
But Dante is obviously on a short list.
I would think so.
Of the most influential,
most
important.
Yep. I mean, it's rare. Like, there's a lot of guys in the NFL that have long, careers, but they do it with several teams. The coaches, they move around. It's rare that a coach stays with one team for that long.
Through several different head coaching regimes, too. They all kept on.
And that's why they change a lot, is because coaches change, owners change, but he's through.
It's too bad he had that 2 years that he went with Ron Meyer.
Yeah. I mean, he's been, through how many? Like at least 3 owner eras, right?
So he's here. I know he's here with Parcells, Carroll, and Belichick.
That's coaches.
Right. But 4, I would say 4 owners. He was the Sullivans.
Right.
Khayyam. Orthwine.
Right.
And obviously now.
Yeah. So he's with all the owners.
Right? I would just have to look to see that period that he went with Indianapolis, if that was like the entirety of, say, Victor Kayem.
Okay.
I don't know if the years match up, but yeah.
Yeah, several coaches.
I mean, it was
McPherson.
Ray Berry, right? And then Ron Meyer?
Yeah.
Or did he come with Ron Meyer?
I don't know. And Clive Rush.
Then all those guys, Ron Meyer, Ray Berry, and then like Rod Rust. I don't know if that might have been the Indianapolis time.
Yeah.
And then, Dick McPherson.
Yeah.
And Parcells and Carroll.
Yeah.
Belichick.
I mean,
it's amazing to go through that many head coaches, and they all think that much of you.
That's right.
That they want to keep.
That's what makes his career unique, and then plus the quality of his coaching.
Yeah.
Obviously, like player after player says, they wanted to play for this guy. He got the best out of them, and that's the bottom line of a coach, to try to get the best, to teach and get the best out of each player. And if you can do that, then job well done. So good for him.
So you guys having that comment from Zoe, that kind of bums me out. I was waiting for something today.
Well, Zoe had a comment that he was going to break news today.
I'm not going to lie. I was waiting for that today.
And then he just came out and said nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it does feel like something
could be close.
Some of the big market stuff, DeAndre Hopkins, Lamar Jackson, we're all kind of in a holding pattern to see if anything's going to happen with any of those guys.
Albert
right
Breer
now.
came out with a thing that said the Patriots are not interested in Hopkins.
Yeah.
Did he say that they weren't interested in Hopkins, or they weren't,
or they're not looking at him, or something like that? They're not.
Okay. Yeah, I know we got a lot of criticism for that because.
Oh yeah, because people want it to happen.
Right.
Well, but also because other reputable reporters have said the opposite. So he's really the only one that's saying that there's no connection there to be made. Whereas, Jeff Howe came out and said that they've called on all of them, on Hopkins, on Judy.
I'm sorry, reputable?
So,
yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Somebody had some interesting stats from Hopkins from last season, because he didn't play a full season. And if you extrapolate it out, I mean, he would have had a monster season. And because there's a lot of talk about, he's old and, he's not the player he used to be. And this person was making the case that he's still pretty damn good.
I think Tom Curran is the one. I think
was it Curran?
Tweeted that out.
I mean, he was top 10 in the league in receiving yards per game, which is just the easiest way to look at a per game basis type thing. And it was almost at 90, I think, last year when he played, and that included the games with Colt McCoy and whoever else they were starting.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
and he had some of those kinds of years in Houston when he didn't necessarily have Deshaun Watson. So the guy's obviously one of the best wide receivers of his era.
Yep.
Now the question is, what is you willing to pay for that at this stage? He'll be 31, I think, during the season. What do you not only what are you willing to give up, but what are you willing to pay him?
I'd give him a second round, or I'd give
But
Arizona
are you willing to pay him
second.
the 20? To me, it's not about what you're giving up, and because I think that's actually going down. Evan said this on Tuesday, and I agree with him. I think it probably started at first, second round pick, but I think the longer it goes,
it's like a game.
They look at the Brandon Cooks thing. It's probably going to end up being closer to Cooks than it's going to be to a first round pick.
I just look at the game of musical chairs. Cleveland makes the move for Elijah Moore. Dallas trades for Cooks. These teams that are interested in wide receivers, all of a sudden, there's not that many chairs left, right?
Yeah.
Like there really isn't.
And the Jets just brought in Hardeman, right?
Yeah. So they're poking around Odell as well because Aaron Rodgers wants Odell. So that's probably going to happen. It sounds like. I think Tom Pelissero this morning said that he thinks it's, or maybe it was Darlington, one of those two. I always get them confused. That it's like
I do too.
It's
That's funny.
It's a done deal that once the Aaron Rodgers thing goes through, that they'll take care of Odell and they're going to come together. So it sounds like
Jets.
Yeah, it sounds like there's just some other. If you're trying to look for landing spots for DeAndre Hopkins, I think the two other teams that people have thrown out are the Chiefs, potentially just doing what the Patriots used to do and attracting an aging veteran at the end of his career, or a team like Buffalo doing sort of the same thing where maybe he takes a little bit less money to chase a ring with one of those
I'd
two
be careful with if I were Buffalo with him, because I think that they already could be volatile with Diggs. I think that the clock is ticking. I think they're starting to feel a little heat. I think OBJ could be a bad mix for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he'd be an upgrade talent-wise, but
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't
well,
work that way.
Their
you
whole
know?
fan base is clamoring for the 1B to Stephon Diggs. Like, we need
that's
a
what they
second
need.
receiver. So Hopkins' name has come up. I guess he Instagrammed last night like Buffalo Soldier, but he was like Bob Marley lyrics, and like so they all of Bill's Twitter just blew up thinking that he was saying that he was going to Buffalo, and then he
These are
had
the times when I'm very glad I'm not in that world.
yeah, Odell linked to them a little bit to be that second receiver behind Diggs, so they're poking around there, but I don't know. I feel like with Hopkins, I still am not like totally sold on it because it feels to me like he would have one good year here. You would know next year he would probably have a great season, assuming health and all those things. But then what? He's 31 years old. I feel like this has a good chance of being kind of Moss-like in the sense that it's like one or two really good years and then it's going to fall apart. And if you're the Patriots, I still skew younger. Like, I'd still rather them pay a little bit more to go after a younger player and somebody that can be here for the next 5 years instead of someone that's year to year.
Is it worth $20 million in a second-round pick to see if Mac's your guy? Because if you bring him in, there's no excuses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't even know if it's going to take a second-round
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah.
I don't even know if
curious
it will
to
take
see
that.
how it turns, though.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it would take a second-round pick.
Or whatever. Is it worth
Yeah.
$20 million to make sure that
And you
Mac's
know
your
what?
guy?
They'll do it like that Elijah Moore trade that Evan just mentioned. They'll trade a third and get a fifth back or something like that just to
That I could
obscure
see.
exactly what you gave up for it.
Right.
But the second-round pick, I think if they had a second-round pick on the table for Hopkins, he's already be traded. I don't think they're getting those types of offers for him. I think they're getting more offers like Paul just mentioned, let's move down 150 spots in the middle rounds and get Hopkins, or even the deal that Brandon Cooks got. I think he's a better player than Brandon Cooks, but is he 3 rounds better than Brandon Cooks? Probably not. So I think maybe a 4th-round pick in this year, maybe you give him a pick next year too or something like that. I think that might get it done.
All right. I've been ordered by management to give away more T-shirts.
You are managed.
Yeah. So
There's nobody above
we
you
have
in
the
the mascot.
Patriots Unfiltered T-shirts, and the way we've been doing it is giving out trivia questions that are related to the show. And the first person who emails the correct answer to webradio@patriots.com wins the T-shirt. We'll do a few of those today. So let's do one right now. So it's the first correct answer that comes in. So get ready by your phone or your keypad. And this first one's really easy. So I expect everyone to have the answer, but so now it's a race to see who can get the answer in first.
Yeah, you should do that. Stick to the easy ones. That's a good idea, Freddie.
So this is the first. You ready, Matt? Ready? First person with the correct answer to webradio@patriots.com. What was Big Head and Fred's epic argument at the draft about? What was Big Head and Fred's epic argument at the draft about? First correct answer. Let's see it.
Embarrassment.
Yeah. So,
Evan, can you imagine they argued for so long on this particular night that even I was disinterested? Think about that. There was an argument going on that I really had no interest in after a while.
Are you sure?
I just kept going to like Google.
Yeah.
And I would read stuff like I was the
Yeah.
guy that wasn't involved,
Okay.
just tossing grenades in.
you can stop.
Someone already got it.
We can stop with the entries. Who was the first one, Matt?
Jason Mose. Jay Napa.
What? What did he say?
Jay from Napa.
Jay from Napa.
Jay from Napa. Okay. Jay from Napa. And, of course, the answer is, do rivers have tides? And that was
This
the
is
big-
a
That's what the
draft
epic-
night argument.
I
Oh,
looked
yeah.
at this real quick,
First
and
round.
I thought it was going to be something
First
like
round.
Phillip Rivers. You guys are just talking about bodies
Same.
of water.
At least. At the
Stop.
very
I was
least.
like, oh, they were talking. This
How
is the
epic
04
was
draft.
this?
Oh, this
Okay.
was inside the draft party as well.
Oh,
and they're screaming at each other.
Oh, and I think
and I'm
Andy,
pretty sure Andy dropped an F-bomb.
Yeah, he dropped an F-bomb. Yeah.
Two, actually.
Yeah. So that's the answer. Okay, so we have one winner. We'll do another
So
T-shirt.
they're arguing back and forth, Evan, and all I'm doing is like Googling, like, do rivers have tides? And I'd be like, and then there would be like a little break, and I go, rivers are said to have tides. Blah, blah, blah. And then you would, how like on the internet you can find exactly what you want
Right.
either way. So I would read it exactly both ways, and then I'd just like I'd go and get it like a Sunday, come back. They're still arguing.
What side of the debate was Fred on?
That they don't.
They don't. And Andy
Well-
said they do.
Well, tidal marshes do, but like if you're close to the ocean and you're fed by, obviously the ocean affects the level. But if you're a river that further away from the ocean, you don't have a tide. It's not a big enough body of water. Anyway, I don't want to get into it.
No, but I Alex knows everything, so I figured that you would chime in and tell you you're wrong.
That.
I would be on Fred's side. I think tides are all with the moon and the ocean. Rivers, they're all flowing to the same place.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like if you're if you're within a mile of the ocean and the ocean feeds into you, obviously it will affect that body of water. But if you're like,
It's good stuff.
How do you explain whitewater rafting then?
That's current. That's not a tide. That's current.
Maybe I need to go back to.
I think of it from fishing.
Now you see where I was that night.
If you're going
That's just-
fishing
that's
in the
just snow
ocean,
melt
the
from the
tide
ocean
is
that creates
important.
that.
If you're going fishing in
Yeah.
a river, you're not thinking about when
That's
high
not a
tide
tide.
and low tide is. And
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's my logic,
Yeah.
at least.
I was playing the role of Evan that night. I was breaking down the cornerbacks.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, as you can imagine, the first night of the draft is like my Super Bowl. So if this was going on while
You're lost your
I
mind.
would have been.
Evan would have had an
my-
aneurysm.
Evan would have walked out. Yeah, he would have been so mad.
They're on the
He's
clock,
already
guys.
read just thinking
he
about
would've-
it.
They're on
Look
the
at him.
clock.
It was one of the funniest things
He-
that
he-
I've been involved in.
He would have walked out and started his own podcast. Okay, they don't want to
Sandy,
talk
a river
about this.
doesn't have a tide.
You guys are morons. This is unreal.
All right now. Me, I'm the voice of reason. God, Alex, relax over there. Calm down.
All right, we'll do another one a little later.
I have a little bit of a theory that I want to throw out on the whole Jalen Mills thing.
Yep.
Do you think it's possible, and I have no information on this whatsoever, which is generally how I conduct all my business. Last week they had Taylor Rapp in.
Yes.
Right? Do you think that maybe that those two things are related?
Yes.
Like, we're going to release you. We're going to bring in Taylor Rapp. Now, what I don't know is maybe – I think there's definitely a correlation between the two. Exactly what it is, I think, is open for interpretation depending on how you look at it. I think it may have been, we're going to release you. I'm going to bring this guy in to talk to try to pressure him into
Or insurance.
redoing the thing.
If we release him and he does get a good deal,
But the
then
other part
we have
is
a hole.
they wanted to release him and they wanted Rapp to replace him, and they couldn't make a deal with Rapp.
That's the part that's where I feel it falls. And again,
But I think there's a relationship there.
Jalen
100%.
had a really cryptic
Absolutely.
tweet or a cryptic Instagram story really quickly after the season ended about something to do with not being where he's not wanted. I read into it a little bit at the time.
And
then
talking
it looked
to
like he
some
was
people,
staying.
always dangerous when you talk to people. I don't think the team was all that happy with the amount of time he missed at the end of the year with the groin problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's goes. I think we all question what was going on there, similar to how we brought up with Damian Harris the other day.
I wouldn't be surprised if they felt the same way about Harris.
Because
with that
Jalen
thigh
Mills,
bruise.
when we were out in Arizona, that week of practice, he's out there for one day, and all of a sudden we never see him again. It's like, so that one day of practice, and I'm not saying that he, but that one day of practice, all of a sudden
Some of my things
done?
aren't completely whacked. Some of them, probably have some merit. I just don't know, like I said, was their plan to stick with Mills all along, but they wanted him to take a year off his contract, which is, I think that's basically all that ended up happening, right?
Yes.
It's roughly the same
Yeah.
for Mills.
The total value is roughly the same.
But he
yeah.
lost a year.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that would or wouldn't be advantageous to the team. Or if it was, no, we want to replace you with Taylor Rapp, and we weren't able to get that done. So, Jalen, why don't you come back here?
That was my read on it, was that Taylor Rapp, I think, is a pretty good player.
I like him.
And I think he's going to get multiple years and maybe some guaranteed money.
I liked him coming out of college.
Yeah, and I don't think that they were willing to go there with Taylor Rapp. I think that they approached it similarly to with Gesicki, who, if he's going to take a one-year deal and kind of fall into our lap, then we're all for it. But to give him multiple years, to give him some guaranteed cash, I don't think they wanted to do that. And I think we'll find out in the coming days that Taylor Rapp signed a semi-decent deal
I think he
elsewhere.
went to Cincy
And
the
they signed-
same day that he was maybe the next day.
Then they signed Nick Scott, his teammate,
Right.
with the Rams. So they signed a safety. So I don't know if they're going to be in his market still. But that's my read on it too, is
All
that
right.
they wanted Rapp, but it didn't work out.
Yeah. I don't know. It could also be that they said, go find a better deal. In the meantime, they interview Rapp because what if he does get a good deal? We need a guy, and it didn't work out, so they brought him back. But it's definitely correlated. There's no doubt.
Yeah, there's. I'm not sure that might have. I mean, I guess there's always ways around it, but I don't think technically he was actually released.
Jalen Mills now.
Yeah, never went to the wire.
I think it goes down as a restructure, so I'm not sure that other teams would have legally been able to talk to him.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not saying that means that he didn't talk to anybody.
Right.
I'm not naive.
I just go back to, I remember Aqib Talib did some sort of radio interview a couple years ago, and he said that Bill tried to convince him to come out of retirement to cover tight ends. He was going to move him inside and have him cover tight ends at the end of his career, and he didn't end up doing it. But I look at Jalen Mills, and I kind of think of the same thing of, we're probably going to go in a different direction at outside corner and maybe draft somebody or something like that. But if you want to come in and compete for a tight end coverage role, then that's something that we would like to have a little bit more flexibility with.
All right, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. Let's check out the phone line, see what people are thinking. Patty's in Agawam. What's up, Patty?
Hey, everyone. How are you?
Good.
So, Freddie.
Yeah.
A little interesting fact about the that whole Rivers and Tides argument. I'm the one that prompted it.
Is that right?
I called up on draft night, surprise, surprise, half in the bag, and I quoted some Cypress Hill lyrics. And that prompted you guys to start the fight. It just kept going and going. It was awesome.
That's good. It was epic. It was epic. It goes on to this day.
Patty should get a T-shirt just for that.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get a little bit into the draft. But before I do, Freddie, I would argue that you're one of the 30 most important guys.
Please, God, no. No. If
I'm not trying to butt
this isn't a very good organization if I'm on the list.
He's not. I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
First team paper, first team website.
Not the first team paper.
And NFL.com modeled their website after the first Patriots website.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So.
All right. So I just wanted to know if did any of you guys catch the Bill Perry interview with Jeff Hafley from Boston College?
I watched some of it. I haven't been able to.
He's talking about Zay Flowers.
I'm gonna go see Zay tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep.
And Evan, I'm kind of a prisoner of the moment like you were. Like I heard him talk about Zay and just go on and say how like he's never seen a player like him. Not that like he's better than any of these like the players that they try to compare him to, but I was just like, all right, he's the guy that we got to draft at number 14. But
there's been too much attention on. There's no way we're going to draft him.
It's my fault.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
I'm hoping that tackle, cornerback, wide receiver, one of those big glaring holes that we have. If we draft a running back or tight end, I think I might just check out. I might call in drunk and prompt another argument on a draft night.
Well, we know you'll call in drunk, Patty, because that's what you do. That's why we love you.
Yes, sir.
That's why we love you.
All right, guys.
All right. Thanks for the call and the start of the argument. Dan is in Vermont. What's up, Dan? Dan, in Vermont. Yep, Dan's tapping into the maple syrup.
Oh,
yeah.
I like that. Good
call back, Dan, if you want. Lots of emails coming in here on.
Don't you guys feel like everything is kind of at a holding pattern unless something happens with one of the like Judy or Hopkins?
It's Hopkins, yeah. Because I don't the Judy stuff. Like I don't think Denver actually wants to trade Judy.
I don't think they do either.
I think if they get blown away with an offer, they would move him. But it's going to take the Patriots putting the 14th overall pick on the table, I think, to actually get something done with Denver on Judy. So I think it's Hopkins and maybe a little bit with the quarterbacks with Rodgers and Lamar kind of figuring out those situations. But yeah, I definitely think that the receiver market, it's Hopkins got to go somewhere, and then everything else will sort of sort itself out.
Speaking of people on interviews, Jake Bailey revealed something that we suspected, but confirmed that the whole thing was about the team thought he was physically ready to come back, and he didn't, and that started it. But then by not having him come back, there was a lot of guarantees that he lost out on, and I guess there was some type of settlement that happened. So everything's all set now for him. But it was an injury and then money that caused that whole thing.
Well, did you see what he blamed it on the squat rack?
Squatting.
Yeah.
He said that he'd never had squatted before. That was something that they wanted him to do, and he hurt his back on the squat rack.
Let me tell you something. As someone who did squat a lot, that's a dangerous exercise if you don't do it right. And when I say don't do it right, the slightest flaw in your technique can really screw you up, both your knees and your back.
Yeah.
I remember who was the old time trainer that we had here?
Ron O'Neill?
No, before him, Johnny
Parker.
Johnny Parker. I remember him telling me, the squat is the best exercise you can do. Everybody on this team squats. I don't care what position they are, they squat on this team. And I'm not sure that, now with all the advances they've had in training and all that, if that's necessarily correct.
Not super heavy like that, too. Like,
I just wonder for a punter, like why...
Yeah, why
he
you
was so
squatting?
hell-bent on it. Like with Gronk, this was a problem with Gronk years back, and you can understand that. He's a tight end. He needs to...
And he had a bad back coming into the league.
I just wonder about, a punter. And that's Jake Bailey's side of the story, too. And I'm not naive enough to know, to not know, like, there's another side of the story. I thought it was interesting that he kind of let off his comments that he's talked to Bill about it, and they've agreed to talk about it, which... to me is kind of counter to, we still haven't heard Malcolm Butler talk about why he didn't play. Like, clearly they had...
He's talking about it. If
that
somebody
book
asks
deal?
Bill about it, I don't know if
Bill probably won't do it, but I
Right.
think that he's okay with talking about it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which I think was kind of different. I don't necessarily blame anybody in the situation, but, I mean, it is unfortunate that you couldn't sort of figure out a way. And I think that might... that might explain the drop-off if it was – he says it was affecting his accuracy with his kicking and whatnot. And if he didn't feel as confident in his back, I could see that. That's such a mental thing with those specialists.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bill always likens it to a golf swing. If something's wrong with your technique, it gets in your head, it's hard.
Yep.
It's hard to correct it.
Back at the phones, Anthony is in South Carolina. What's up, Anthony?
What's going on, boss?
Hey.
Two questions. Miles Bryant, I really don't understand that re-signing because every time I saw him, he was getting beat in basically every game. And number two, what are our chances of getting like either D-Hop or going in the draft for a number one receiver? Because Jerry Jeudy, I don't look at him as a number one receiver.
Yep. Well, first, Miles Bryant. I mean, is he I know he was a lightning rod because he was involved in some key plays on the bad side. But what was he that bad?
No.
Yeah.
I know nobody
He's
wants
just
to hear
so
that.
short
but
and it kills me. It breaks my heart to hear people talk about Miles Bryant the way that they do.
That's the hardest.
Yeah.
To me, not physically, slot corner might be the hardest position to play in the league because the receiver has a two-way go. He can go in, he can go out, he can go up the field. Like, you have to cover everything. When you play on the boundary, you can use the sideline as a defender, right? So you know that you have him pushed up against the sideline. You don't have to worry about certain routes. With the slot, he's got total freedom in there to do whatever he wants, and you got to cover him.
You got to have those swivel hips,
right? And so that's a tough spot to fill. And I think.
Do you think we should keep Jonathan Jones in the slot though, and get legit outside corners?
Yeah,
they do need to.
Yeah, I mean, Miles
absolutely.
Bryant as an outside corner, no, that's it. I don't think you want that. But the thing is, as Patriots fans, we have to remember that every team in the league can pass for the most part. There's very few teams that, Patriots were one last year, but this is a passing league. It's hard to stop teams from completing passes in this league. And if you take the third or fourth or fifth corner on any team, they're not going to be that good, compared to the other team's passing game. It's just hard to have a whole roster of really good corners in this league,
Especially with how undersized he is.
They're good corners, but
so easy to point to him.
Yeah, they're good corners, but they get made to look bad.
That's my biggest issue.
Yeah, they get. Yeah,
I would agree with that. But I would also say that most teams don't re-sign those guys. Now, I'm okay with the restricted tender. You got the lowest tender, whatever. Next year, if they're looking to extend him, I think that would be a curious.
No, I think I agree with you
call.
there. I think he's a he's a dime backer. Like, he's a guy that when you have 6-7 DBs on the field and you need somebody else,
Right.
you bring him on. And I think that their hope is that between Jonathan Jones and Marcus Jones, those guys are your nickels. Like, those guys are the guys that are going to play in the slot most of the time next year. And Miles is depth.
Right,
And that's where he belongs. I think the last couple of years he's had to play a lot more than his skill set probably reflects.
Yeah, and I just don't like having to start to pay significant money for depth.
Yeah.
So like he's fine on that. What is it, like 3 and change?
It's
2 and change.
Yeah, it was.
So that's fine. But
it's right of first refusal tax. I think it's like 2.
If he ends up getting up over, like $5 million a year, which is what some lower end slot guys go for. Like, I don't want that. He's not good enough for that.
But at what they're paying him, I just as soon have him. He knows the system. He knows the coaches. The coaches know him. They know his strengths. They know his weaknesses.
Yeah. I would say I would also say depending on the draft, we talked about, and Evan and Mike have talked about the cornerback class in depth and how talented it is. If you can hit in the draft, his roster spot's not a guarantee. Don't forget, the restricted free agent tender is not guaranteed.
Correct.
Even if he signs it. You can cut him.
Okay.
Nothing.
Yep. Thanks, Anthony.
Right.
And your other question was about D-Hop. I mean,
well, Judy is not a number one receiver, which
on this
I
team
think right
is.
now he's probably hasn't proven to be one. I think with Judy, you're more banking on potential than what he's actually done in the league.
But
I think that's fair with Anthony.
But don't you think on this team,
easily,
he'd be the most talented guy they have? Yes.
And at that point, do you get rid of Parker? Do you trade him?
I think him or Bourne would certainly be 2 guys that are maybe tradable pieces. I've thrown out there maybe including them in the trades to give Denver a receiver that can play right away back. So they're not making such a huge hole for themselves. If Jerry Jeudy was in this draft, he'd be the number 1 receiver on the board. Like he's got that kind of talent. It hasn't necessarily all came together for him in Denver, but I think it's a combination of things. Like they've had multiple head coaches, they've had multiple quarterbacks, multiple coordinators, and he's been injured a couple of times.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on there in Denver, but in terms of potential, I mean, I just for kicks, I threw up some Mac Jones to Jeudy stuff from Alabama, and you just watched him at Alabama in that bowl game against Michigan in 2019, and it's stupid. Like they couldn't tackle the guy.
He was the best player on the field,
right?
And I like him a lot. I liked him coming out. I know that sometimes you get sort of wowed, and you're like, well, he has all these physical gifts, but how good of a football player is he? I think he's a really good football player too. At least he was.
Yeah.
I think there've been a lot of stuff going on in Denver, and I think he kind of finished strong last year too.
He did.
So
that's what their GM told me at the combine.
I think it'd be crazy if Sean Payton didn't look at him as a guy that he wants to make sure he uses the year to figure out. And you can take the 5th-year option and then figure out how to deal with that later too if you want.
Right, and not to like flex the whole film thing, but I watched all of his catches from last year, and I mean, the tape tells a different story than the box score. Like, the guy's really difficult to cover. He ran a sluggo on Jalen Ramsey where Ramsey just completely blit on the slant and just off the screen, right? And he just, broke him at the top of the route. He's got number 1 receiver film. He just hasn't put the production together yet. So if you can get the whole package out of him, he's going to be, he's close to 1,000 yards last year anyways. He was 9 and change. So I think a healthy Jerry Jeudy is a 1,000-yard receiver easily.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting listening to some of the free agent. I think McGlinchey signed with Denver, right?
Chicago.
No. Okay.
Was he Denver?
I thought it was Denver.
Maybe it was Denver.
So it was somewhat.
You might be right.
One of the higher profile free agents who signed with Denver was talking just about, Russell Wilson's a Hall of Fame talent, and Sean Payton's going to get the most out of him.
Sounds like something McGlinchey would say.
But this is like the kinds of things that I think if you're Denver, you have to bank on that. Like you can't just assume that Russell Wilson's a lost cause. You have to, beyond hope, think that you can get something out of that contract and figure it out. So I think Jerry Jeudy would be a guy you'd want to have help Russell Wilson out a little bit.
So I do have a little bit of not player news, but Albert Breer just tweeted out that he knows Joe Judge's role for the Patriots next season.
Know your role and shut your hole.
He's claiming that Joe Judge will be an assistant head coach with the Patriots in 23 with personnel elements, some parallels to Matt Patricia's 21 role. And then he said on the field, he'll be working with special teams.
Okay, good. Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got no problem with that.
So senior football advisor, basically.
So it's interesting, though, because we were thinking that, maybe Gerard Mayo would get that assistant head coach position, but apparently not.
Yeah.
So do we know what Gerard's, title will be this year?
We don't have any confirmation on that yet. No.
Okay. That's interesting, though. It's good. I'm glad that he's helping out with special teams. Adam is in Pennsylvania. What's up, Adam?
Hey, everyone. How's it going?
Good.
That's good. So, unpopular opinion here, but I like the moves that we've made so far on the offensive side of the ball this offseason. And I know people have been calling in complaining that we haven't made any splash signings, but I don't think that's a bad thing at this point. And to me, a lot of these signings that we have, they feel a lot more calculated. It feels like O'Brien has a vision as to how he wants to build and design this offense, and it looks like he's willing to be patient and sort of intentional with how he builds up to that vision. So, I see him bringing in an explosive yards after catch guy like Juju and signing a guy like Gesicki who's a more athletic and dynamic tight end. I see those as pieces that are building to that bigger picture that O'Brien is trying to create to produce a faster and more explosive offense in 2023. And this is in contrast to the 2021 free agency spend that we had that year, where it felt like the Pats came out and they were like, well, it's free agency. We have a crap ton of money. Let's just go out there and get these top of the market guys, and then we'll figure out how this all fits together. And I know as a fan that was super exciting, but just 2 years removed, I wish we wouldn't have done it. Didn't feel like we had a plan in place. And, 2 years later, we're kind of cleaning up the debris from that free agency spend that off season. So I don't know. This off season, it's been pretty unsexy so far, but I just feel a lot more confident in how the Pats have been approaching it. And I think there are still some other moves to be made. I think we do need to acquire another top wide receiver to kind of round out the offense. But just overall, I like the way that we're heading with free agency so far, and I'm willing to be patient to see how it shakes out here over the next few weeks. But
right.
Those are just my thoughts.
Fair enough, Adam.
Where we're at right now.
Yeah, thanks for the call. I mean, I would agree. I think their approach so far has been methodical. One thing I'd push back, like the whole thing, 2 years ago when they went after it, I don't know if that really set the team back. Like, were there guys that were available that year that they missed on? I don't think so. Now the guys didn't work out, but I don't know if that really set back the organization. It
was short-lived. Like, it just wasn't the 21 season wasn't.
It never panned out the way we hoped it would.
Right.
But yeah, I think that it was a different situation too. I think that they
had no competition really.
But they had no talent. The roster had been completely reset in 20, and they had to go out and get some NFL players.
Yeah.
I would agree with most that it probably was a disappointing haul. For the money they spent, they didn't get the bang for the buck.
Yeah.
But
we've talked about.
I understand why they did it.
But we've talked about it on this show before. It's history says like teams that go out and have multiple free agent signings, like not
it works.
It
works for a year, and then they tail off.
But
and that's exactly what happened with the Patriots.
And not every one of the signings always work. There's like half of them work. I remember us saying that at the time. Like if half of these guys work, it'll be okay.
Yeah, it's exactly what Paul said. You get a shot in the arm for a season. You see your win total go up for a season, and then you come back down to earth, as the life of those contracts continue.
And I'm going to stun you here. Part of the reason for that, I think, is
the quarterback.
Well,
say it.
No.
Say it.
I wasn't. No,
you were going to say it.
I was going to actually. This is why it's going to be stunning for you. It's the salary cap. Because when you go out and sign big money free agents, most of the time you set it up so early on, the contract is very team-friendly. And then the big money comes due, and that prevents you from doing anything else.
That's interesting you said that, and just reminds you of something I read yesterday from Pro Football Talk on the Aaron Rodgers situation, that everyone thinks that Green Bay has the leverage over the Jets, but that's not, according to Pro Football Talk, that's not true, because if the Jets walk away from the table and leave Green, like he's going to count $60 million against the cap.
It's a big number.
I mean, that's an example of pushing these things to the future.
Well, it's not pushing it to the future. That's his salary.
Only because
59 and change is his salary.
Yeah, only because
it's going to cost the Jets that too. But the difference is, it's $60 million for a guy who's not going to play for you.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
Well, yeah, but and
they don't want to pay him.
But the Jets aren't going to. They're not going to pay him $60 million a year.
Oh yes, they are.
Oh no, they're not.
I don't know what it's going to cost on the cap, Fred, but they're going to pay him $60 million. That's his base salary.
No, they're going to redo that. They're going to redo it.
No, they're not. And if you're going to redo it, you're not paying him less than that. He ain't taking it. He'll retire. Why is he going to take less?
There's no way any team would pay right now any quarterback $60 million.
I'd pay Patrick Mahomes $60 million.
Evan, can you please help me out?
I wanted you to admit that the 21 Patriots were better because of Mac, but you wouldn't go there.
So that's what you thought I was going to be stunned with? No, I actually think just the opposite. They put in if Cam Newton, it would have looked totally different.
Yeah.
But Cam Newton would have been better in 21 with the talent that he had around him than what he played in 20.
Cam would have been better. Would they have been a 10-win team with Cam Newton at quarterback?
Probably.
I don't know.
Because I don't think Mac won a lot of games. Fred used to yell at me. Not surprisingly, Fred yelled at me a lot in 21.
I don't think he won a lot of games on his own. I understand that point. I just think that the consistency that he brought to the table as a rookie and sort of the baseline performance that he brought, I think helped make sure that roster got what it should have gotten out of the talent that it had, if that makes sense.
All right, we're going to take a break. Food's here. We'll be right back after this.
Verizon, the network America relies on, and the official 5G network of the New England Patriots.
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Bass Pro Shops, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including Six String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar. Watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix Esports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
How did Verizon build the fastest 5G in the world? We started by building it right with 5G Ultra Wideband. Then we gave it massive capacity and near zero lag. And it's not just fast, it's 25 times faster than today's 4G networks. This is 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. 5G Ultra Wideband available only in parts of select cities. Global claim based on open signal independent analysis. 25 times analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q2 2020.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes.
Oh no.
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Some people are never content with simply being good. Not when they can be great. But it takes a big step to get there. In fact, it takes a leap of faith, a belief in what you're striving toward, and a willingness to make the commitment, day in and day out, to something bigger than yourself. Putnam is proud to partner with those who share their own commitment to performance excellence. This is Matt Light for Putnam Investments, a world of investing.
There's no season better than football season. And there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy sports partner of the New England Patriots. To add to the thrill, DraftKings has millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week. So head to the app now and check it out. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy football is easy to play. Just pick 9 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for yards, touchdowns, receptions, and so much more. There's no better way to put your football knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week. That's promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Patriots fans, you'll want to check out the replay on this one. Pat the Patriot is stealing the show tonight with his Bank of America mobile banking app.
That's right, folks. So here we see Pat cheering, and then whammo! Is that Bank of America life plan?
Looks like he's saving up for some big future moves. Planning the next vacay, huh, big guy?
And wait, now he's paying back his buddy for concessions using Zelle? No penalty there. Incredible!
No way! As if that double move wasn't impressive enough, now he's beefing up his account defense with security meter? Holy cannoli, what a performance!
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive, Patriot fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/banking. You must be enrolled in online banking or download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Terms and conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Want to get into the game? Get coached up at Dean College. Equipped with exclusive academic partnerships featuring the Patriots, Revolution, Providence Bruins, summer baseball, and more, our classrooms are set up for success by learning directly from the pros. Dean College has programs in communications, sports management, business, and marketing with unprecedented hands-on experiences. Our students take what they learn in the classroom and put it right to work in the marketplace. At Dean College, our students don't just play games, we run them. Visit us at dean.edu.
Verizon, the network America relies on, and the official 5G network of the New England Patriots.
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Bass Pro Shops, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including Six String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar. Watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix Esports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
How did Verizon build the fastest 5G in the world? We started by building it right with 5G Ultra Wideband. Then we gave it massive capacity and near zero lag. And it's not just fast, it's 25 times faster than today's 4G networks. This is 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. 5G Ultra Wideband available only in parts of select cities. Global claim based on open signal independent analysis. 25 times analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q2 2020.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Some people are never content with simply being good. Not when they can be great. But it takes a big step to get there. In fact, it takes a leap of faith, a belief in what you're striving toward, and a willingness to make the commitment, day in and day out, to something bigger than yourself. Putnam is proud to partner with those who share their own commitment to performance excellence. This is Matt Light for Putnam Investments, a world of investing.
There's no season better than football season. And there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy sports partner of the New England Patriots. To add to the thrill, DraftKings has millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week. So head to the app now and check it out. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy football is easy to play. Just pick 9 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for yards, touchdowns, receptions, and so much more. There's no better way to put your football knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week. That's promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Patriots fans, you'll want to check out the replay on this one. Pat the Patriot is stealing the show tonight with his Bank of America mobile banking app.
That's right, folks. So here we see Pat cheering, and then whammo! Is that Bank of America life plan?
Looks like he's saving up for some big future moves. Planning the next vacay, huh, big guy?
And wait, now he's paying back his buddy for concessions using Zelle? No penalty there. Incredible.
No way! As if that double move wasn't impressive enough, now he's beefing up his account defense with security meter? Holy cannoli, what a performance!
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive, Patriot fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/banking. You must be enrolled in online banking or download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Terms and conditions apply. Member FDIC. What's up, everybody? Check out this snippet from the latest episode of Pats from the Past with Devin and Jason McCourty.
I can only imagine what your mom thinks when she sees the video at the end of the Kansas City game. Because when I look at it, even
we all stop.
I mean, I still get almost choked up about it when I see it, like, because it's surreal. And here's 2 kids who probably did that in your backyard or on the playground at school and everything, and it happened. And I know you got to close the deal because it would have sucked.
Yeah,
if
said
you'd
that
done
the
all
whole
that
week leading
right,
up to it.
right.
Mm-hmm.
But how amazing was that moment?
Oh, it was awesome. And you said we did it growing up. I can remember getting ready for Sunday Pop Warner games, and me and Deb would go outside on the pavement and start throwing the ball, and we'd go over all of our plays that we were going to run later on in the game just to prepare ourselves. And now from that moment, waking up Sunday morning, to now fast forwarding years later, now we're waking up on a Sunday morning and we're walking into a stadium getting ready to play in a Super Bowl that he's done. This was his 5th time being in this game. And I think the best moment wasn't on the field after the game. It was in the locker room as we're going and we're passing around the AFC Championship trophy. And now we're talking about going to the game. And for me, it was so surreal. And I said it when I was holding the trophy. This is the first time I get to go to the game on my own accord, and I'm not hitting Dev up to figure out the logistics and taking care of the family, but I'm actually getting invited to the game. So for me, it was truly special. Dev knows the Super Bowl in Houston. I never know the numbers. The Super Bowl in Houston,
51.
I wasn't
51.
51. Yeah, they're all the same to me, other than 53.
Try having to write about it.
Yeah,
I don't remember ever.
I can only imagine the hardship these guys go through having to write about Super Bowl after Super Bowl.
And that's the proper response. Oh, tough life, Paul.
That was Devin and Jason McCourty. They sat down for the Pats from the Past podcast with No Socks and Paul, and that'll be up on Patriots.com. Do we have a date for when that's dropping?
Today, Matt? Tomorrow?
I want to say it came out yesterday.
It did come out?
Oh, what do I know?
It did come out.
What do I know? So that's available.
I lived it. I'm sorry.
On Patriots.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Little soon for, Pats from the Past.
We joked with him a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But Devin, did you hear?
But you make hay while the sun shines.
Devin played the role of Fred in that.
Yeah.
Like I was, I have a hard time keeping track of the Roman numerals too, and he's like, yeah, it must be really hard writing about all the Super Bowls.
Right, good for him. Yeah, he's sharp.
It was perfect.
Yep. So that's available on Patriots.com or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. That's where we are. So good stuff. That's what, number 40, I think, in the number of Pats.
38.
38. A lot of Pats from. So if you haven't
We've done
already,
more than I remember.
Yeah, if you haven't already subscribed to that podcast series, do so. A lot of catching up to do. There's a lot of great stuff that they've done already. So-
Efforting to get a couple more done.
Yeah.
Been texting back and forth with.
Yeah. So
couple
Alex
people.
has left us. She's gone to a charity
Just
event.
doing charity.
Yeah. A woman
charity.
A
We do
woman
too
in,
much charity.
A woman in motion, or what? What is it? No, what's it called? No, it's like women's.
A women's in sports
Women
seminar.
No, but like this month. What is this month?
This month is like International
Women's Month.
or
Okay.
something like that.
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So she's gone to something to do with that. So all right. So
I believe Tamara is actually
moderating.
She's hosting it.
The
right?
round table.
Good stuff. All right, let's get back to the phones. They're loaded up. Willems and Phillum. What's up, William?
Hey, what's going on, Cliff? How you doing?
All right.
Just want to just say a couple of things. I just want to say something first, Evan. Evan, I wasn't trying to be rude or mean or anything to you last week. I know you was taking a lot of punches last week, but you was holding up good though. Okay, but I wasn't trying to hurt your feelings or anything like that, man.
Oh no, I didn't take anything personally. Don't worry about it.
What happened when I wasn't here?
You see, to the callers that just called it about the corners and one saying that we might need corners, whatnot. I just want to think. I think we need two of them, and I think his pick was not because of that we need it. It's just because we need taller corners. You know, I'm tired of seeing our little corners getting mossed by T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Diggs. You know, they can't hang with them. You know, they what are they supposed to do? You know what I mean?
Right, but what corners in the league can hang with Jamar Chase? There's very few.
Yeah.
You know, that's why he's Jamar Chase.
Yeah, this is one thing that I think Alex and I are going to differ on this on Catch 22. And when we disagree on something, it's like, oh, well, let's talk about it because we usually see eye to eye on most things. And I'm not feeling corner as big of a need in the draft as maybe some other people are, because to me, they just need a bigger body that can play on the outside, that can play some press coverage against a T. Higgins. But I don't think that they're in like desperate need for corners. I think that the Joneses are pretty good corners. I just think that those guys are they're all smaller. Yeah. So to me, it's not like this is a need that we need to draft 3 corners and so give me 1 6'2" corner that can play press on the outside against the T. Higgins, and I think they match up pretty well in the other spots already. So,
but you wouldn't be surprised if they draft a corner in the first round, right?
In the first round, I would be.
Oh, you would be
a little bit because it's just not. They don't typically draft corners that high. So the highest corner that they've ever drafted, technically, if you want to count Devin as a corner, is Devin. If you don't want to count Devin as a corner, then it's actually Razai Dowling with the 33rd overall pick in the draft.
Right.
What about the kid from Alabama years ago?
Cyrus Jones,
he was a
second
round
round
pick.
pick.
He was second round?
The
Why did I
second
think he was
round
first?
is their sweet spot for defensive backs.
Right. That
in
is
general.
absolutely true.
So
There's
Devin,
a laundry list of bad picks in the second round that were defensive backs.
Devin was 27th overall, and the highest defensive back that they've ever taken is actually Brandon Merriweather. I think was 23rd or 24th. So it's not.
And he was the opposite of Devin. They drafted him sort of as a corner and made him a safety. They thought he could do both, but
yeah,
they don't draft a lot of secondary guys
in the first.
High.
No.
Yeah.
Can I say 2 more things? And,
Sure.
And I'll be out your way. Well, Evan, I like Zay Flowers, man. I think something about him. I don't know. I'm just the way he moves, and he's just good, man. He just looked really good.
Well, he'll make our corners look tall.
True. And last but not least, I just want to give a little pushback towards Hopkins though. Look, Hopkins is better than anything on your team at this point. Everybody talking about, well, he's old and this, that, and the third, and blah blah blah. Okay, so where did you see the wear and tear as far as last year? His quarterback got injured, so I mean he would have had a hell of a season. You know what I mean? But because of that was it. And, because of his off-field situation.
Yeah, I was going to say, he didn't have a hell of a season because he had to miss the first 6
Right.
games. That was on him.
Right.
But when he played, he was ridiculously productive.
Yeah.
Right. And I get it. Jerry Jeudy, he's young, and him and Mac have a connection on, but Jerry Judy's still not a number 1 yet, correct?
Well, he would be for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Okay. I ain't complaining if we get him, though. I'm not complaining at all. Trust and believe that.
The price for him is a
that's
lot
okay.
higher than Hopkins.
Right. Okay, gentlemen, take care. And
Thanks,
have a
William.
nice weekend.
All right.
too.
Thanks, William.
Yeah, and I think there's some similarities with the way the Patriots did with Brandon Cooks, a lot of years ago with Judy, and I think they traded for him. I want to say they picked up the 5th-year option.
Yep.
And they were still able to trade him for a first-round pick.
Yeah. So they traded him for him in year 4.
Right.
Picked up the 5th-year option and then traded him on the 5th-year option.
Right. So I did remember that.
Yep, you did.
Usually I don't. But so I think it would be a similar kind of thing with Judy. You could trade for him. You could pick up the 5th-year option. And if you don't like, everything about it, you should still be able to move on from him.
Yeah.
AJ's in the Bay Area. What's up, AJ? AJ? You still there? No? AJ? Nope, not there. Okay.
Good job, Hardy.
I don't know if this is the same Anthony as before. Nope, he's gone too. Okay. Well, we cleared out the phones.
Good job, Fred.
Let's get to the emails.
Multiple busy signals.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Let's see. Rob in San Diego via Connecticut has a what-if question. The Patriots have made some free agent acquisitions which have increased talent like Juju and perhaps Gesicki. If this, along with the O-line moves and Robinson, are the totality of the free agent movement, are we feeling good heading into the draft? Evan has stated there's no number 1 receiver at our first draft spot, so let's assume we pick a tackle or move down. Will that approach bring enough talent to the roster to compete with Miami and Buffalo, and perhaps the Jets? Is developing a wide receiver something we are confident in from the draft? Do you disagree with that approach, assuming it's what happens?
I don't mind. Drafting a receiver high and developing.
So if nothing else happens,
I don't mind that.
Transaction-wise until the draft, are you okay going to the draft the way we are?
I'm okay with going into the draft the way we are if they approach the draft, if they take the draft seriously. Like, I'm just going to put it that way, because if they give us another Cole Strange in the first round, then they're going to be in trouble in terms of roster talent. But if they actually go into the draft, look at the needs that they have at the top of the board and address them accordingly, then yeah, I mean, you build through the draft. Like, I'm a staunch believer in that, and like, it would be great for them to go out and trade for Jerry Jeudy or DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm for both moves. But ultimately, like, those pillars, those franchise pillars, are going to come through the draft. They're not going to come via trade of a 31-year-old wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I would echo everything about the draft. Like, that's how you get out of this mess. I think that they've made some steps in that direction. I think that they've had good I don't want to call these great drafts the way some of my colleagues do, but I think they've had some good production out of the draft going on 3 years now. The last 3 drafts, I think you've gotten some good players in all 3 of those drafts. Now, there's 2 parts to that. You got to continue to develop them. These guys have to continue to get better, and you have to retain the ones that do get better and the ones that you want to build around. And this is where you get back to that, like, 100 and some odd million in cap space next year. I don't think that would be a good thing if they still have all that cap space heading into next year. That means,
Kyle Duggar,
Uche left, Duggar left.
Right.
When like, you gotta find a way to get these young guys and figure out how to keep them. Yep. And that's how you want to chew up some of your cap space. Now, I'll set it up now because I know I'll get made fun of. I will also say, like, if you do that, you haven't really done anything to get yourself better. You're sort of status quo. And that's where I would be with the question that you on your email right now. I think they need something else. I think they need a significant piece, probably via trade, for me to say that, okay, they're better than they were last year on paper. You augment that with a really good draft. Now let's see if you can compete for someone ahead of you. Right now, I think, like I said on Tuesday, I think I can make an argument that Juju's better than Meyers. I can make an argument that Gesicki's better than Jonnu. I can make an argument that Robinson's better than Damian Harris. But how much better does that make
Bill
you?
O'Brien is better.
That's coaching.
Come on, but if it meant so much last year, then it means something this year.
Yeah.
But coaching, fine. I always go back to the...
But it comes to what do you have for players?
But it makes you better.
Are your players any better?
It makes you better.
It does.
We'll see.
It does.
On paper.
Like the last half of 21, they weren't any better than they were last year.
Yeah.
Offensively. They had great coaching.
We saw what bad coaching did good coaching makes you better
I
than
go,
last year.
I go back to something that Bill always says about this, and that coaching is your floor, and the talent is the ceiling of the team.
Sure.
So the coaching is going to be better to the point where it's more
Yes.
representable, but that doesn't make you compete with Buffalo. Like Bill O'Brien
that's my point.
calling plays isn't going to help you when Josh Allen is
Just
between
like
the
in
lines.
21, you couldn't compete with Buffalo when you had
Right.
Josh McDaniels as your coordinator.
Right. But I thought it was funny, one of the funny moments of Devin's retirement ceremony was Bill talking about that draft that got killed by a lot of the us
No, it
pundits.
didn't.
Yeah, I don't think I put you on the email.
The lowest
grade they got was a B-.
Oh.
The lowest grade they
Okay.
got. He loves.
I thought it was funny
to lie.
But here's the thing. That draft was Devin and Gronk, the first 2 picks.
Yep.
There's no guarantee that you'll ever hit like that again. But if I had some more confidence in their ability to hit like that again, then I'd feel fine about where they are in terms of the free agency stuff. But to Paul's point, I think their last couple of drafts have been good.
Good.
Have
Good
they been
draft.
great?
20, 21, to a lesser extent last year. I think 20 and 21 were good, solid drafts.
Right, but they're not. But they haven't gotten a Devin McCourty or a Rob Gronkowski or a Dante Hightower. And I just looked at it the other day with Hightower and McCourty kind of retiring at the same time. That core of Dynasty 2.0, as we all like to call it, of Brady and Edelman and Gronkowski and McCourty and Hightower and Chung. First of all, they're all retired. James White, which is sad. But secondly, where did they get all those players?
The draft.
Right. And that's when the drafting started to struggle. It was sort of 14, 15-ish.
Right.
That's when they started to have a little bit of a drought in the draft.
Right.
And that's why you're here. So I don't think you could just have a couple of good drafts and say, okay, we're back. Unless, like, one of those guys that you really hit on turns out to be Mac Jones.
Yeah,
then you can be back.
Right.
I mean, if Thornton all of a sudden, becomes that deep, consistent threat, okay. So now that elevates, Cole Strange becomes a solid guard for 10 years. Good draft.
That was not going to help.
Yeah, it's Mac. Like, if Mac turns out to be a really good draft pick,
Yeah.
like, if we're looking at Mac, well, wow,
Right.
they really nailed that.
And Tyquan. Cole Strange isn't going to help you.
And Barmore.
Cole Strange is not going to help you when you're playing Buffalo and you have to put 35 on the board to beat Josh Allen.
So
not going to help you.
EEI would have been very upset with you yesterday.
Why?
With this Cole Strange criticism.
I hate it to do it because it's same with
I was driving
Jacoby.
to get
I like
lunch
both guys.
yesterday,
They're good
and
guys.
I'm listening to. I would blame the person, but I don't know who it was. He wasn't anywhere near as bad. He was made out to be. This is a media thing. They didn't like the pick of the guard in the first round, and they just were destined to make him fail. And I was like, the head coach took him out of 3 different games. That had nothing to do with me.
Right.
I didn't take him out because I don't like guards.
But to their big point, it has nothing to do. It almost has nothing to do with it. Like it has nothing to do with the fact that Cole Strange was good or not good on the field. The point is that the guard position inherently is not a premium position. It's not going to move the needle. So they took a pick that was a big pick in this whole rebuild. The first round pick in a rebuild is a big deal. And they took that pick, and instead of taking an outside corner or a receiver or a pass rusher or something like of premium value, or even a tackle, they took a guard. And that whole draft to me is now, it was at the time and it is now, it's predicated on Tyquan. If Tyquan ends up hitting and the draft is fine, but if Tyquan ends up being a bust, then the top of the draft was a miss because Cole Strange isn't going to move the needle for you regardless if he's good or not, and then Tyquan didn't live up to it. So
we'll see about the Joneses too.
Right.
I think they could.
Marcus
could
Jones
it.
could be a diamond in the rough.
He's a fantastic player, but he's a returner and a slot corner.
Right. And we'll see what he is as a slot corner because just as a returner, to your point, like you're not going to like just all of a sudden get to a different level because you have a great returner.
Right. Jonah Hughes writes in. He says, I'm a junior at North Carolina State in material science engineering. Well, good for you. I wanted to thank you for being the best football podcast out there. You always provide entertaining commentary and Patriots takes. I hope to see Soap with a Slot in stores soon. How much of a role do you think Bill O'Brien is having in the offensive signings this offseason? He's known for liking yak-type players, which is exactly what Juju and Robinson are known for. I love Jacoby and wish we kept him as a wide receiver too, but Juju was 11th in the NFL in yak and Jacoby was 40th. Tight end Gesicki is
Somehow
also
they ended up with the same amount of yards.
Tight end Gesicki is also an interesting receiving threat. However, does little in the blocking game. Does this make drafting a tight end more likely? Also, I want Laporta drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round in the draft.
Well, you can't have Laporta and want blocking because Laporta ain't going to come in here and block. He's a receiving tight end, kind of, in the Hernandez type mold. And I think with Gesicki, this is something that I feel like they've also sort of brainwashed people on, is like blocking being this huge thing that matters. In 2022,
He's more like me than I thought.
Like, it's 2023, right? Like, last time I checked, that we're worried about that they don't have an inline blocking tight end. Like, I don't know.
I'm not saying that you. Yeah, I mean, maybe Gesicki is like exceptionally useless in that regard, based on some of the reports out of Miami.
With his hand in the dirt, he's
yeah,
useless.
and I'm not suggesting like you should just have tight ends that don't even get in anybody's way. But I kind of agree with you. It's like, little Jordan Humphrey. We're going to have him here, because he can block. Like,
the people that were still hanging on to hope for N'Keal Harry were telling me that it's because look how he blocks.
Right. And I just don't think that, to your point that you just used, I don't think you win and lose games because of the effectiveness of your wide receivers blocking in the running game. Now,
as long as there's speed bumps.
Of course it helps.
As long as there's speed bumps, right? As long as they can get into somebody's way and force them to take a second to go through them to the ball carrier, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
If you're telling me that the guy's olaying every single time, then that's different.
And that's what it kind of sounds like Gesicki is. But the emailer's point about the yak, I think... and more specifically about Bill O'Brien's influence on some of these moves. Yeah, I think that he's part of this. I think he has an idea of what he wants to do with his system and the players that he thinks can help in it. And I do think Juju gives you more explosiveness than Meyers. I don't think a lot of people would argue about that. I don't think Gesicki gives you more explosiveness after the catch. And running backs all have all yak. Running backs catch passes at or behind the line of scrimmage. So if you're going to get any yards out of your running backs, it's going to be yak, right?
Yeah.
You're not throwing 25-yard bombs, down the sideline often. There's a wheel route here or there,
right,
but you're not going vertical with your running backs.
The nerds that do a lot of deep dives into running back passing game value, and they're on... in average, their average depth of target is obviously going to be much lower than a receiver or a tight end.
Right.
So their whole argument with running backs passing value is you're actually deterring yourself by not throwing to a wide receiver or a tight end by throwing to a running back.
And it's sort of to a lesser degree why I kind of, Mike and I kind of got into it Tuesday about Juju and Meyers. And again, like, I'm not, you decided to swap them out. I don't think that you got killed in that. Like, fine, if Juju's a little better. Maybe he's a little better. Okay. But that's part of it. It's like you have all these numbers now that tell you, well, look at all these yards after the catch. But they're not taking into consideration how much closer to the line of scrimmage he catches the ball than Meyers does.
The way I look at that running back game, a lot of it is it's a substitute for the passing game. It's a substitute for the running game.
Right.
A short little swing pass is a high, it should be a high percentage pass.
Right.
And it's like...
And how did you think that Ramondre Stevenson was in the passing game last year?
Fine.
Right. He was really good.
Yeah.
I think until very late in the season when he clearly ran out of gas, I thought he was their best player on offense last year.
A lot of teams, including the Patriots, have used that as a substitute for the running game at times.
Yeah, and when
that's fine.
When it's 3rd and 3 and you get James White matched up on a linebacker and he breaks his ankles, like that's another way that you can use the running back as a valuable pass. I'm not saying there's no value in pass catching running backs. I just think that, guys like James Robinson, I don't think necessarily move that needle for me. Like, I'm going to have to see that he still has that rookie season juice in the passing game that he had with Jacksonville. Like, sure, I can go back and watch him in 2020 and see him take some slants and be productive out of the backfield, but is that the player he still is?
No, and I'm not looking to reopen my whole Juju thing, but that's kind of how I feel about Juju.
Yeah.
If it was 2018, I wouldn't be telling you that, oh, yeah, him and Meyers are the same. The 2018 season that Juju had is something that Jacoby Meyers could never even aspire to. He would never even think about having 111 catches for 1,400 yards. Meyers is not capable of that. But I don't think Juju is anymore either.
Nick in Connecticut, you had a call last Thursday show. I believe it was a caller named Roman. He claimed he wanted nothing to do with Lamar Jackson because Mac's last 5 games of the season gave him hope for this year. Without Paul, there's no one pushed back on how stupid that claim that was. I'll put together a few points from each game to show how hopeful it was.
Wow.
Cardinals, Mac had 0 touchdowns, 1 interception versus a bottom 5 pass defense, only one because Kyler went out the first play of the game.
Plus another pick that was overturned by replay.
Raiders, Mac was 13 of 31 passing, 0 TDs, 0 interceptions. And the caller's most idiotic point, the Patriots would have won in overtime because they had momentum. They literally allowed the Raiders to tie the game with 30 seconds left. Bengals, they scored 18 points offensively. Dolphins, they won by 2 points against their second and third string quarterbacks while getting a defensive touchdown. Otherwise, they score under 20 again. Mac also
We're just reliving the season now.
Mac also threw an immaculate 204
Even
yards.
I'm bored with this.
And Bills, he claims the offense outscored the Bills' offense and that the special teams touchdowns were the only reason the Bills won. Meanwhile, Mac had 3 interceptions while throwing for less yards and the same amount of touchdowns as Allen in the game, despite the fact Allen was playing with a 10-point cushion. I hope I filled the role of Paul well and signed Lamar for the love of God. Love the show. Thanks as always.
Well, we just had to relive a season that was really not all that fun to live in the first place.
Yeah.
So
I would hope that you guys did some pushback on like the last 5 games.
I think
from there was nothing.
No, but there was some of this going around. I remember last year of extrapolating the stats of like, oh well, the last 5 games he was at 280 and the 280 yards per game or like whatever.
There were a lot of interception stats. I remember.
Yeah. And his interceptions got better.
They were ignoring. Yeah, he cut back on the interceptions in the second half of the season, but it completely ignored that he also cut back on his production.
Yeah, no, I would push back on the notion that there's no excuses for Mac, but that doesn't go hand in hand with saying that they've improved the roster enough. You know what I mean? Like, to me, this year with Mac, he's got to show some playmaking ability and some, overall just a better product on the field for me to be bought in. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I think that he should be, this is a Super Bowl roster, that he should be quarterbacking this year. I think those two things are separate
That's
arguments.
totally fair. You can look at things. It's just like, Fred, when you made the point about Billy O. Like, yes, like, absolutely has a competent offensive coordinator. At the same time, that alone isn't going to get you over the hump if you don't have the horses.
No.
So I won't put it all on
But
Mac.
makes it better.
I won't put it all on Mac. Well, we'll see.
Okay.
Because I don't think they were all that much better in 21.
All of this is we'll see. All of it is we'll see. But that's all we have to go on right now is on paper.
It definitely makes them better.
Yes, but the talent itself is like kind of a wash. I mean, they really, and I think you can make an argument that they've lost pieces on defense, right? I mean, who have they added on defense to replace
Devin
McCourty?
Yeah,
I think that, and he actually tweeted this out the other day. I think they kind of like their in-house guys at safety.
Would that frighten you?
It does and it doesn't, because I think Duggar's a really good player. I think Duggar has a chance to be on a McCourty level in terms of what he brings to the table as a player, but I don't think that he alone. I'm not putting much stock in Jabril Peppers and Adrian Phillips.
Yeah, no, I like Duggar too. I'm not going to be a fraud and tell you, oh no, he can't play. I don't think he's great in coverage, but I like his instincts of going after the ball. He has a nose for the ball, and I threw him out as a center fielder type last year, even though that's not the way he's been employed.
Yeah,
I think there might be a chance that he could play like that. So I like Duggar a lot as a player. I don't love him,
right?
But I do think that he does a lot of things well, and he's physical and he's athletic.
All right, Cody from Indiana has a who am I game. 3 clues per player, 1 guess each. These are all Belichick era Patriots. First clue,
era Patriots.
First player. I have a twin. No one's going to jump at that.
I feel like it's too obvious for it to be.
I'm going to go
good.
Jacob Hollister.
No, you're wrong. My favorite beverage is apple juice.
That doesn't help.
And finally, I swear I can be a good punt returner if you just give me a chance. Kyle Duggar.
He has a twin? Oh, he's a twin sister, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's a twin.
I guess. Yeah.
Next person. I have intercepted Tom Brady 3 times. I only spent 1 season in New England.
Revis?
Revis is correct.
Yeah.
Good.
Next person.
Good.
My father and I both played for multiple NFL teams. My father and I both play for multiple NFL teams. I have been on teams head coached by both Bill and Josh McDaniels. And finally, I caught Tom Brady's 100th touchdown.
I'm over. I'm disgusted with
I feel
myself.
like this one I should know.
Daniel Graham.
I
have won. I have won.
I don't think I knew that Daniel Graham's father played in the NFL.
So far, good, Cody. I have won a
Excellent.
Yeah. I have won a Super Bowl both with and against the Patriots. I had more than one stint with the Patriots. And Deuce cannot pronounce my name correctly.
Yeah, LeGarrette Blount.
LeGarrette Blount is correct.
Matt
got that one. There you go.
That was not me.
Finally, I was also a baseball prospect before my football career.
It's too obvious.
I have had more than one combative incident with fans.
Ooh.
And if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. The answer is Paul Perillo.
That's me.
Thank you. All right, let's give away another T-shirt. All right. Again, first person with the correct answer to webradio@patriots.com wins the T-shirt, and so it's really a speed test. Let's see. Which one should I do? What is the name of the school Andy taught in for one day? What is the name of the school Andy taught in for one day? This might be not as easy.
I think that one might be a little tougher than the normal one.
Yeah. Okay. So first correct answer to webradio@patriots.com wins it. So Matt, you monitor that. In the meantime, let's get back to some of the phone calls. The phone lines are stacking up again. Let's go to Eldred in North Carolina. What's up, Eldred? Hey,
fellas, how y'all doing?
All right.
I'm doing. But Paul, I'm like you. I'm worried about the same safeties. But I've been worried about the same guy picking for the last 5, 6, 10 years, 15 years, really. But Evan.
Yes, sir.
The piggyback off of William and Phillum, from Philly, whatever. Those corners are too short. You said the Joneses are good, but man, they can't run with Diggs and what you call throw the ball up over their head and they standing there and it's a touchdown. I think the first pick should be a corner. And like I said, I'll package here some things to move up. If Porter's gone or if, Gonzalez. But I don't know about Ricks. Ricks kind of scared me a little bit from Alabama. So I don't know. So what do you think?
Well, Ricks isn't going in the first round.
What about Devin Witherspoon? I'm looking at him on the TV
You
right
want
now.
taller. He's 5'11", 6 feet.
Okay.
But, look, there's no doubt about it that they need another corner. I'm not going to sit here and say that that's not a need and everybody's overrating that need. All I'm saying is do they need a different body type at corner, or do they really need this shutdown guy that everybody keeps talking about? I personally feel like they can more than get away with at least just having a matchup corner that can go out there and cover T. Higgins on a day when they face a receiver who's 6'3". Like I don't think it necessarily needs to be the first round. The other thing I would just say, just looking at this draft, corner is maybe the deepest position in the draft. The tackle.
See, now you're thinking like Bill,
right?
And I say you go after the athlete.
But
you go after Gonzalez or you go after Porter.
You can. But my point is that there's guys on day 2 of this draft at corner that I personally feel like can start in the league. I'm not sure if there's a tackle that's going to be there on day 2 in this draft that can start in the league. So if you're trying to figure out which position to go when, I am much more concerned about waiting on tackle because I don't know if there's a starting caliber tackle after the first round.
That's what makes it hard.
I know there's a starting caliber corner to be had at 46. There's going to be somebody that I really like Julius Brents from K-State. He's 6'3". He's a good athlete. He fits the bill of a matchup corner to play on the outside against bigger receivers. Those guys in this draft go, 20 deep in the top 100. So that's where I'm coming at with corner.
Like I said, I'd rather go after the ones that does test well, and that is, like Gonzalez or Porter. Then the other guys might be like you did the last couple of years. You picked this corner because you thought he was better, and the second round, then there's another bust. You never know. But I always, like I said, sometimes to be an athlete, you got to go after the athlete.
But these guys are all good athletes. Like I'm not asking them to pick another Juwan Williams who just can't run with an NFL receiver. These guys are all good athletes. This is a very, very good corner class.
Where I would have the hard time
Thanks,
with,
Eldred.
and I think what Evan talked about is what makes it difficult. Is you can sit there and identify your needs and then decide what's worth rolling the dice on. But for me, the corners I'm intrigued by because there seems to be a handful of guys with some decent size.
Bunch of guys
that are also athletic. And I think that's a rare combination that you have options at 14 that you could get a 6'2 guy that is an athlete and not, as you said, a 6'2 guy like Juwan Williams
right.
who can't run.
I just think that there will be one of those available in the second round, and I know
you could get both in the second round,
right? So
size and athleticism.
Yeah, I think so in this class, because it's a deep class, and I'm not saying that any of those other guys, Joey Porter, Christian Gonzalez is one of my biggest draft crushes. The guy's an incredible talent. I personally think a lot of these mock drafts that are coming out that have Gonzalez on the board at 14 are smoking something.
He's not going to be.
No, I think he's going to be a top 10 pick. But regardless of that, Cam Smith is on the TV right now from South Carolina. Really good player. His teammate Darius Rush is also in this draft. Is also 6'2", also ran a 4.4.
What are they doing with defensive backs all of a sudden?
Right,
so South Carolina's had a good run.
Yeah. So the point being that Cam Smith's going in the first round. Rush is probably going on day 2. You have to think about drop-offs, right? Like how big of a drop-off is there from Cam Smith to Darius Rush versus Broderick Jones to Jalen Duncan, right? Like those are the types of things that teams think about.
That's what makes it hard. Absolutely.
Right. Boston Cream writes in. Paul.
Boston Cream. Love it.
Paul, Juju's air yards per target was 2.4 yards less than Jacoby. The depth of target between the two isn't that large. The difference that separates the two is Juju's route win rate, especially against man coverage, which he's inside the top 10, and Jacoby is outside the top 50. We've always said we need man beaters. Now we have one.
Oh, I don't know about that. Those are bad stats.
I was going to say, did he just say there's a difference between depth of target of over 2 yards?
About 2 yards.
That's not. I mean, you tell me that. Is that nothing?
That's not nothing, but the man coverage,
like that to me, explains the gap in yards after catch.
Yeah,
it's the difference in the yards after catch is why they both average the same amount.
Yeah.
Who is the trivia winner?
Chris with a TIAN.
Oh, all right. Chris with a TIAN gets a T-shirt.
Good person to say Dighton Rehoboth.
And while I've enjoyed my time at Dighton Rehoboth,
I'm excited about my future at
Sorry,
Dighton Rehoboth.
Boston Cream. I don't like your stats.
And
Too good for the trivia.
He was supposed to be coming after me too.
The man coverage stuff, that's not what I see with my eyes. That Juju's a better man coverage beater than Jacoby. I think it's the total opposite, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't have those numbers in front of me, and I know that you do have these kinds of things, so I wouldn't question them. My only thing, what I keep saying is, again, I will accept that Juju's better than Meyers. I don't really think it, but I'll accept it because I think there's a very logical argument to be made for it. So it's not my Mount Cooks. It's not a hill I'm going to die on. What I just can't get past is all of this explosive talk about the yards after catch. I agree. Juju Smith-Schuster is better with the ball in his hands than Jacoby Meyers. But at the end of the day, over the last 3 years, and last year in particular, it was the same. Their average per catch is very similar. And I think when you take into consideration last year, one guy was in the best offense in football and the other was in arguably the worst, and they both averaged 12 yards a catch. Even 12.0. I don't know how much that explosiveness does for you. That's all I'm saying.
I just think that the argument is that in this offense and Bill O'Brien's system and the way they're going to use Juju, if you using Juju in that way versus using Jacoby in that way, who's the player that's better fit for that type of role?
But we won't know because Meyers isn't going to get that opportunity.
I guess so. But I think that the yards after catch argument comes in that vein.
Like Meyers did it catching balls off his shins from Cam, and then the last 2 years, with a young quarterback who was trying to find his way.
Yeah,
Juju did it with Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown on the other side, and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I just think that people look at it and look at the yak ability of how it fits better.
Let's see what Meyers does this year in Kansas City.
But even then, it's not apples to apples.
No, I know, but like, what does he do with Mahomes? You know, now
he's
they
not
both
going there. He's going to the Raiders with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Why do I keep thinking he's going to the?
Because Juju came from the Chiefs.
He came from. I'm all messed up. All right.
You okay? Did you bang your head?
Well,
are you all right?
Yeah. Okay.
Did you fall down?
Okay.
You just grew up under power lines. Hey, why don't you read another trivia question? I know you wanted to get a bunch of those in.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Calvin from Connecticut. On Bedard's
rolling the dice, Matt.
On Bedard's podcast, he brought up the possibility of why the books or cap numbers for 2024 appear to be pretty open. In other words, low 30s for total players signed in $100 million cap space. It's the Patriots. The idea was thrown out about ownership having a hand in Bill keeping the books more open so that if things go sour this year, they could have the ability to reset or change directions, roster, coach, and quarterback. I don't believe this at all, because then wouldn't Bill be more open to trading these picks away this year, having 11 of them, and get the guys or veterans he wants? Also more of splash signings than depth stuff. I'm curious.
How do you know he won't?
Do you guys believe about any reasons for such little 2024 roster planning, or have the Patriots just not gotten around to extensions of core guys like Onwenu, Duggar, etc.? Love the show. Thanks for taking a few of my emails recently. Last thing, still hoping to find out what Evan from previously Clintus Media thinks of Bobo. Who's Bobo?
I have no idea who Bobo is.
I don't know who Bobo is either.
But I can't really get myself to worry too much about 2024 yet, because we're still
worried about 23.
We're still worried about 23. But besides that, the Patriots have a bunch of players signed relative to the rest of the league. They're actually, I think, near like 10th in terms of guys signed past 2024 and beyond. The difference is that they don't have a lot of big money guys because they haven't handed out those extensions
So that number that
yet.
Mike was up in arms about is actually high end in the league?
Yes. Yeah, in terms
do you remember
of,
that? What did I say to you that day? I need to know more information. I need to know how many guys that are signed at 25 for everybody else.
Now you sound like me, Paul, when I say I need. How does that compare to other teams?
Yeah, I want to say it's 11th. I think is the number that I looked up. So
it's right. It's right
yeah,
there.
So
upper third.
The problem is that, to your point earlier, they don't have anybody to pay. Right? Like they haven't paid anybody big money because none of their younger players are worth it yet. So
and that's why you have the cap
difference.
space. Like to answer this question, the email's question, you don't have a lot of guys that you like. I got to re-sign Rob Gronkowski.
Right.
I'm giving him a big money second contract. You know, the last several years they've had a big money free safety that's been running the show on the back end that they don't have anymore.
Right. So there are definitely guys, Gesicki, Jalen Mills, that are signing 1-year deals to clear out the cap in 2024. But a lot of their young guys just haven't hit extension eligibility, or just haven't extended yet. Like a Kyle Duggar.
I am interested in that theory. I mean, we'll see if it ends up having any validity, but you do want to keep your flexibility if you're not necessarily certain about the future. It's a good way to go. If in the back of your mind you think it's possible that we're going to be headed to a reset, what if it doesn't work out with Mac Jones?
Right.
Well, you want to have as much flexibility as you can. Forget about Bill.
That's true.
I would. That's where I would go with it. Is that I don't know if it's at that high of a level. I think it's more about, okay, if Mac Jones isn't the future, and let's say Lamar plays on the tag for Baltimore and then becomes an unrestricted free agent next offseason, then you have $50 million in cap space to give to a quarterback, something like that.
Let's get back to the phones. Noah is in the UK. Oh, he's not in the UK. He's off the phone. Let's go to Tony in Charleston, South Carolina. A lot of South Carolina today.
I'm heading down there.
What's up, Tony? Tony, is there something wrong with the phones today?
Yes, it's you.
No, it's not me. I'm hitting the right buttons.
Fat fingers.
Tony's gone. Let's go to Todd in North Carolina. What's up, Todd?
Well, Greenville, North Carolina, which is, small, tiny, I think maybe 90,000 people. We had both Mr. Beast and Tom Brady here on Monday visiting us.
Oh, is that right?
Which, yes, I was kind of startled. And there's pictures of him in our one-horse airport hugging some airport official and stuff. So interesting times. Which brings me to something that Paul just said. I think this entire year is about two things. Does Bill still have his fastball, and do we have a quarterback? Because any way you cut it, the teams in the NFL, it's all about your quarterback and your coach. Can you get those two working on the same page and get them going? And I'm hoping that with a little bit of Bill O'Brien guidance that we can see something out of Mac. But I don't think we'll ever see Lamar Jackson here. I don't think that's something that would work in the long run.
I wouldn't count on it. No,
I don't count on that. So my question is, how many years do we give this experiment with the coach and quarterback before we say, hey, one of these has got to change or both? Like, do they get 2 more years? Do they get 1 more year? What are you thinking?
This is a critical year. It's a critical year. Even if you think Bill still has his fastball. If Mac has a bad year, now you have a decision that you have to make soon with his 5th year. And then if you don't think Bill has his fastball, then you're thinking 1 or 2 more years for Bill. So this is a critical year.
If you think Bill doesn't have his fastball, this is it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that. First of all, I don't have any wonder if Bill has his fastball.
He's fine. I'm not worried about the coach.
I still think the coach is as good as he's ever been.
Yeah.
I'm far.
Thanks, Todd.
And maybe O'Brien certainly helps us, and reportedly Adrian Clem certainly helps us. But I think one of the more underreported stories has been the support staff. Losing Dante Scarnecchia, losing Ivan Fears, losing Ernie Adams, then losing Josh. Like, that type of stuff I think is getting really...
It's hard.
Because it all goes on Bill, right? It all becomes about, well, is Bill losing his fastball? Or is it that his assistant coaches aren't as good as they used to be?
They're
right?
A lot less experienced.
Yeah.
The Bobo that was being referred to as Jake Bobo. Wide receiver out of UCLA.
Yeah, I know who he is. I don't understand how that has to do with my old employer, but sure.
So what do you think of Bobo?
No.
Okay.
Oh wow.
No.
He must really stink because Evan kind of likes everybody.
Someone told me that he's little Jordan Humphrey.
Oh, I'm out on him.
Yeah. Mike loves him.
I'm definitely out on him.
No, Deuce.
Oh, okay.
Did he ever talk to you about the other guy he loved from UCLA, Phillips?
Oh yeah. No, he likes Bobo because Bobo was nice to him at the combine. I
made fun of Mike about that for a while.
Oh yeah,
which is good because I know I don't. I usually just let things go.
Let's see. Burton Island says it's just one of those little things, but one of my favorite parts of the show is when Fred messes up a call and Paul mumbles, "Good job, Hardy."
And he's probably been around long enough to know that when Hardy does it, I say, "Good job, Fred."
Right. Elle from Wisconsin says, "Wow, I hate the news about Judge. So a big issue before was that he kept overstepping his bounds and incorrectly interfering with some positional groups. So the response by Bill is to give him that authority. Bill sure loves his guys and will hurt the team to prop them up."
This is getting. I blame Breer.
Yeah.
The tweet was worded poorly.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna.
Evan has a theory on Joe Judge. Why don't you?
He's going to be doing research projects behind the scenes, and then he'll work with special teams on the field.
Right.
Like, this is not. He's not the assistant head coach. Okay, he's not the coach in waiting. He's not having some major influence. Like, we talk about this all the time, Paul, with the draft. Like, Bill's drafting. Okay, no one else is drafting. Joe Judge is not going to all of a sudden get into the draft room and be like,
"I agree,
Bill. You know what? I really like this kid." Like, no. This is not happening. He does some research projects. He's going to do some paperwork and stuff like that behind the scenes. And then when they get out on the field for the off-season program in a couple of weeks, he'll be with the special teams. Like,
I even wonder how much you're going to see him on the field, like actually coaching. Like Matt Patricia was on the field all the time during camp and stuff, but not actually coaching a group. I wonder if he's just going to be kind of out there overseeing and doing what Matt Patricia did in 21. Just sort of being more of an advisor. And I think that they might be, quote unquote, leaking it out there that he's working with special teams to sort of allay those fears of like, what? Yeah. After all of those breakdowns on special teams last year, we've just gone status quo. Like, I think people thought that Joe Judge did a good job with special teams before he left for the Giants.
Which he did.
So he's back in that. Don't worry about it. But I wonder even how much of that he's going to be doing.
Chris in New Hampshire says, while the defensive coordinator with the Giants, while Bill was the defensive coordinator with the Giants, Lawrence Taylor was on the roster. As the head coach, Tom Brady was on the roster. With arguably the greatest player ever and the greatest defensive player ever, I don't understand how Bill has come to the conclusion on how to build a team that seemingly flies in the face of the reality of who was on his teams when they have had the most success. What am I missing here?
They haven't hit in the draft. It's not that he doesn't think that good this notion that he doesn't think that good players matter, I think is a little bit overblown too. I just think that they caught all those good players in the draft, and he hasn't drafted well.
Yeah.
So where are you going to get him from? You're not going to get him in free agency. Like those guys are not. We saw that. You hope that maybe one guy like Judon works out for you, but you're not going to get a whole core of players that are elite talents through free agency. So they got to draft better.
Noah from the UK is back on the line. What's up, Noah?
Hey, guys. Sorry about that. I think I just dropped the line.
That was Fred's fault.
No, it wasn't. Go ahead, Noah.
Sorry. I happen to be the same caller. I know that another guy sent an email. I was the one who was defending Mac Jones last week. And just briefly, because that's not why I called in, but I just wanted to say that I totally agree, and those stats are the stats of the stats. It was more that I felt the team played more like a team in those last 5 games, and more that it was going in the right direction at the end of the year as opposed to 2021 where it sort of trailed off. But that's not what I called in for. I wanted to ask about the cornerback group and the tight end group in the draft. So I've heard, and Alex has said this quite a bit, is that they're both equally sort of very deep or unusually deep groups. And I wanted to ask, when the Patriots are drafting and they're in the draft room, and you have a choice between, assuming you want to take a tight end and you want to take a cornerback, should you go for the better tight end first or the better cornerback when you're at a place in the draft? Like, which one should you wait for?
I mean, it all depends. I mean, you mean in overall, like, or as a philosophy, or in this particular draft?
In this draft.
In this particular draft. Well, that's an Evan question.
I think it's tough because I can talk myself into both sides of that, I suppose. I mean, like, if you think one of these tight ends is Travis Kelce and he's going to be that number one guy in your offense, and I think that has more value. I'm not sure if I see that in this class.
Well, let's just say that it's at 14, and every cornerback and every tight end is available.
Corner, absolutely.
So that's the answer.
But my answer would be corner, but let's do it this way because Travis Kelce or Gronk, let's say Gronk and Revis.
Yeah.
Who are you picking?
Gronk.
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Gronk.
I don't know, man.
I don't just make it easy for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have said, Gronk or Rasai Dowling.
I think in this day and age, Gronk.
I think the corner is harder to
really?
find.
Yeah.
I think the corner is harder to find.
Than a Hall of Fame shutdown corner?
Yeah.
Well, it's a Hall of Fame tight end.
I know.
Yeah, that's why. Why I picked high end both sides.
I think that
I didn't want to pick a Patriot because
I mean, I love Gronk, but man, I am enamored with guys who can.
What if it's Tony Gonzalez or Deion Sanders?
Oh,
because I wanted to get the Patriots
out
of it.
I have an off-season take about Deion.
As long as he stays with me and doesn't cause trouble.
Darryl Green.
Is Deion going to tackle?
Let's
or
make
is he
it
just gonna
Darryl
go
Green.
Out there and, I just think that the difference is to me is that in this day and age in the league, you have to compete on the scoreboard. Like I just don't.
That's a good point.
I just don't think that you're
you can't shut down other teams.
You can't do it.
But you can't.
But when you have Darrell Revis, you have a better chance than
you have a better
but
chance.
He's right.
You can't,
Evan's right. It's a good point. It's a good counter.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I take a step back and I say, no.
You can't go in this league anymore trying to shut everybody down.
I'm not saying they're all Gronk, but I'm saying there's a lot more really good tight ends in this league than really good corners.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah.
How many starting tight ends are there that are in this league? Like 14 that are actually good tight ends?
Yeah, 14's a lot. There's like probably 3 true shutdown corners.
I think that says...
Well, there's not 14 really good tight ends in the league.
I think so.
I think that the 3 really shut down corners is because in today's day and age, it's very hard to play corner. Right. And I just don't think...
So I'm saying...
you're not going to win games 17-14 anymore.
No.
That's my point.
But
if you got a guy like Revis, you put him on their best player, Jamar, whoever it is, and that's a huge advantage on
defense. But you're operating under the assumption that when you do that and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
No.
Evan's trying to tell you that you do that and you're still giving up points.
I'm not saying that.
So if you can't score them, you can't keep up.
Because maybe Revis goes out there, and let's just take the Bengals, for example, right? Revis goes out there, he shuts down his side. He shuts down Jamar Chase. Okay, well, who do you have on T. Higgins? Who do you have on Tyler Boyd?
You double them.
But as you trickle down, I don't think football anymore, unfortunately, because I love defensive football, and I love your philosophy of let's put Revis on Chase and then you double Higgins. Like, I love all that X's and O's stuff. I don't think you can consistently win in the league anymore.
I think Evan swayed
points.
me on this argument. I was corner when I came into this. I think he's won me over.
Okay.
I would just ask you, Fred, who do you think are the shutdown corners in football?
I have no idea.
2 or 3 guys.
That's like so few, like not even a name pops. Like, maybe Miami has one now. I don't know.
That would be my point. Like,
Yeah.
I think most people would consider Jalen Ramsey a really good corner.
Yeah.
I think you can beat him all day. Like, I don't think you're stopping Travis Kelce.
Right. See, none of these guys. See, my point is, none of these guys are Deion Sanders or Darrell Revis.
Oh, I bet you if you played some of these
Travis
guys 20
Kelce's
years
not
ago,
Gronk either.
they would be a lot better than they look now. The game is it's not just about the receiver talent. It's just the way the game is played. The rules, how wide open everything is. Like, I think that if, a guy, one of my favorite corners in the league is Patrick Surtain on Denver.
Yeah.
I think if Patrick Surtain played when Ty Law played, he would be that good. He'd be that good. But nowadays, he's going up against, 1 week he's got Chase, and then the next week he's got Tyreek, and then the next week he's got A.J.
so
Brown.
much better.
It's just, right.
I know, but, like, to me, Revis and Deion Sanders are transcendent. They're like, no one's...
Except if you ask Deion to tackle.
Well, okay, but I'm just talking
That's
about
the beauty of never giving up a completion.
pure coverage, coverage. No
Yeah.
one has come close. Even back then, they were better than everyone, and they'd be better than everyone now.
Oh, yeah, I'm not disputing that. I just think that it goes back to what Saban said like 5 or 6 years ago about college football, and I think it's really starting to trickle up to the league too. You have to compete on the scoreboard now.
The point is if you had Revis or Sanders, to Evan's point, on a defense, you're still giving up over 20 points a game.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And if you can't score, you can't win the game. That's the Patriots' problem.
Especially
they can't score.
You're trying to go on a playoff run. At some point in those 3 or 4 games, you're going to have to put up 35 to advance. It's just like everybody always talks about the 18 run and the defense in the Super Bowl. Well, in Kansas City, they went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes on the scoreboard, not because the defense shut them down. And eventually...
Great stuff from the McCourtys, by
the only thing,
the
thing about that is, like, there's a lot of way to score points. You can do it with that tight end. You can do it with the great receiver, and obviously you need the quarterback. But there's a lot of... But, man, there's only one way to shut down that best receiver on the other team, and that's if you have a good corner.
There's
that's only one way to do it.
Yeah, but that doesn't shut down the offense.
No, but it at least it handles one thing that's a
and
problem.
I don't think anybody's capable of doing that.
Yeah, it could probably, but I just look, again,
like you can do it like
if you
temporarily. Like Sauce Gardner did it a lot last year, but I just think it's a temporary kind of
like if you said Jalen Ramsey or George Kittle or Kelce, I might pick the tight end in that case.
Yeah. No,
Jalen Ramsey, because I don't think he's the best, but
or just whoever
you can't
Howard
dispute whenever Revis comes up. It's like if you want to pick Revis, then you pick Revis.
I think a corner is harder to find. That's why I originally went with corner. But your theory, you're like I said, you swayed me on just the importance of being able to score points.
Thanks, Noah.
I just wish that they this is how I would like the people in this building to start thinking more. Is because sometimes the one thing that worries me about this offseason so far is that they do really think that Juju and Gesicki and these this is enough. I think Tom Curran had a tweet last week after they signed both of these guys, and he was like, oh well, then you put Tyquan in, and they got some pieces, they got enough, and it's like, do they though? Nowadays, do they really have enough?
And I saw I saw that exchange that he had, Tom Curran, and he had said something about hope to be able to score more than 25 points. And okay, if the goal is that we can sniff 25 points once in a while, yeah, I think that you have that.
All right.
I think you have that hope.
Quickly, I want to give away one more T-shirt so Matt doesn't lose any more hair. Again, first correct answer to web radio at
You better make this one an easy one.
This should be an easy one. The question is, what is a nut wizard? What is a nut wizard? First correct answer to webradio@patriots.com is the winner of a Patriots Unfiltered t-shirt. What is a nut wizard? Let's see. Are they coming in?
Are they coming in? No?
Maybe we can get it on Catch 22.
Is my server down?
Yeah. What is a nut wizard?
So I got to tell you something. You could probably count on one hand the amount of times I've changed my opinion on something based on someone else's argument. That's one.
I see one. I see a correct
winner.
Who is it?
Give where he's from, but Carl?
Yes.
Carl.
It is an acorn picker-upper. It's an acorn picker-upper.
Picker-upper.
Yeah.
I like it.
Somebody sent me a couple of those as a gift.
Fred, you still have that in your office?
I do. I was complaining about acorns in my backyard one year, and this guy sent me a couple nut wizards, and I haven't had a problem with acorns since. So,
well,
all right.
Now you're on Cape. So.
Yeah. All right, that's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. Stay tuned, though, for Catch 22. Evan and Alex Barth will be here to really break it down.
And really argue.
Yeah. They have.
We do have some things to argue about today.
They have some things to argue about today. So that's,
Evan previewed that argument.
That's coming up next. As for us, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original